What is good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And just want to break down what's going on with NIO stock, what you should be watching for moving forward. I'm also going to talk about why next week is going to be absolutely massive for the entire stock market and NIO, and why you have to be prepared for some crazy volatility because we have some huge things going on. I'm going to break down how this stuff may affect NIO, what you should be watching for, why next week is going to be so huge. But before I do anything like that, let me just mention a couple of things. I'm firstly not a financial planner, so make sure you take none of this as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money to the account, you are guaranteed up to 12 free stocks. The offer ends very soon, so check it out before they run out. It ends in just about 11 days from now. Anyways, now let's talk about NIO, what's going on with it. NIO held up quite decently on Friday. We're about to get a bearish cross on the PPO though, but overall, not looking that bad. It actually outperforms some stocks out there and also the NASDAQ after NIO announced some more bullish news about it being able to rent out those 150 kilowatt hour batteries, the solid state batteries, which is once again very bullish for them for the longer term. But for the short term, let's talk about something important. Going into the week that's coming next week, NIO is going to be heavily dictated by the whole market and the big tech earnings. You have to be prepared for that. And then after NIO has the big tech earnings, I'm not NIO. After the market has the big tech earnings, right? NIO's earnings are going to be a little bit later in August. August is going to be a big month for NIO as well. I'm going to break down how I'm seeing the market approaching it because, from a technical standpoint, the market's looking a little bit weaker right now. You can see it's starting to chop around a bit, forming this head and shoulders pattern and starting to downtrend by making lower highs. So we're actually looking a little bit more bearish, approaching it on SPY and the QQQ. But the question is, why on earth is this going to be so big? What's going on with next week? The reason why the stock market was holding up, like I said before in my video from yesterday, is because we've been getting some relatively good earnings so far. We haven't really seen a whole lot of contraction in the earnings. Guidance has been quite decent so far, but Tesla was and Netflix were some of the first to cause some contraction. But I want to break down something important. We have this going on. Here are the earnings for next week. There's not much going on for Monday. We just have Domino's Pizza and just a couple of others. Nothing too big for Monday. But for Tuesday, we have Verizon, Microsoft, and Alphabet. That's going to be a huge day. We're going to see a huge reaction on Wednesday to all of this. It's going to be insane. So make sure you are ready for this. And then for next week, we have something else going on that's going to be crazy. We also have the FOMC meeting on Wednesday. That's going to be huge. Jerome Powell is going to be speaking again. Just when we thought this guy was, done with a few weeks ago, he's going to be back again. And when he speaks, the market's going to move and he's going to announce what the Fed is going to be doing. According to CME Group, there's a 99.8% chance the Fed's going to give us another rate hike, and this is because of the current jobs market. Now, could they be doing this solely because of high inflation? They're trying to bring inflation down on the core side. It's a possibility. But they could also be doing this because they want there to be this massive reset in the wage sector. If you look at how wages are comparing to inflation, this is just based off the overall inflation. This doesn't account for core. Wages right now are very close to what core inflation just happens to be in terms of wage growth. But the issue is many of these Fed members know that they want there to be some kind of resets. They know they want there to be some kind of correction in many different industries out there, especially the housing industry. That's what Powell was talking about recently. And seeing, unemployment being as low as it is and seeing how much strength there is in the jobs market, this is incentivizing the Fed to continue to raise rates even more. And they may continue to do it for all sorts of reasons, right? I'm not going to name every single one. Some of them could be nefarious, some of them may not be. Who knows? Whatever their intentions are, maybe they don't really like the current jobs sector. But the bottom line is they're incentivized to continue to raise rates as we get high um, amounts of jobs being added to the economy, more job strength, right? Whatever the reason is, I don't want to call out anything too negative. I'm just going to talk about their perspective. And because the Fed may continue to raise rates, this could lead to the market slowing down a bit. So you have to be very careful. The market knows it, so I don't think the market's going to panic too much, but it could lead to a slight slowdown. And it's going to be very big as well. It's going to be these big tech earnings. So once again, we have Microsoft and Google all coming out for Tuesday after the market closes. Expect a reaction on Wednesday. If they don't do too well, the market could get a big rug pull. Now, in my opinion, I'm not too confident about Google, not too confident about them, but I think Microsoft is going to do relatively well after their big developments in the AI sectors and their acquisitions. I think they're going to do relatively well. I think they have strong guidance coming out. So Microsoft should be fine, but I'm not too sure about Alphabet. So we might have very mixed earnings for Wednesday. But then going into Wednesday after the market closes, so the reaction to this is going to be on Wednesday. And then after the market closes on Wednesday, we have Meta reporting earnings. So Wednesday is going to be a crazy day. We have AT&T's earnings, then we have the FOMC meeting, then we have Meta's earnings, and then we have a big reaction coming on Thursday. So you guys can see how this is going to affect the entire market. It's going to be pretty insane. And then on Thursday, we have Roku and Intel, another giant. So we have lots of giants coming out. Intel is going to be coming out on Thursday alongside other communication companies like T-Mobile. Uh, all of this is going to be pretty insane. Expect another reaction by Friday. Excuse me. The market's going to go crazy with all these big earnings. Even the week after has big earnings like Apple. It's going to be pretty wild. So make sure you guys are ready for all of this. Expect lots of volatility. And this will affect NIO as well. How could this affect NIO? Well, in my opinion, NIO might get a slowdown. There's a chance we might see NIO trades a little bit sideways, but don't forget we have this imbalance down here. If it does end up breaking below 10.2, we have these imbalances down here around 9.5 and 9.9. So I would be leaning towards a slight pullback on NIO. A very slight one. It's not going to be that bad. It's like a 60-cent drop, guys. Nothing too serious. And I think it's going to cool off just a tiny bit because of these earnings in the FOMC meeting. At least the odds favor that. There's also a possible like head and shoulders like structure developing. It's not perfect, but it's just worth noting. You could also look at it like this. We also have this downtrend that's being respected. You could see the high used to be 11.3, then it went up to 11.1. Then the high of today or Friday was like 10.7. So it's making lower highs, starting to look a little bit weaker, getting very tight. I think it might cool off just a little bit. That's going to be completely normal, though, for the week, because going into August, we might get a massive bounce thanks to deliveries coming out the week after. So we have one more week of just like shop and some potential downside for NIO. But then in August, we might see NIO explode again thanks to deliveries. And then we have earnings coming out as well. Strong guidance could send this thing to the moon. So I just want to warn you all that for this week, there could be a slowdown because of all these earnings. Also, the FOMC meeting with Jerome Powell speaking. It's best to be prepared for this, and it's best to be as honest as possible with yourself. So please be prepared for all of this and do what you have to do. I want the best for everyone out there. The market to the moon, because the long term is still very bright despite all of these nuances. And I just want to prepare you guys. It's gonna be a very, very crazy week for NIO in the markets. Now for Tesla, the same thing is gonna likely go on. We might see Tesla cool off too because of all these tech earnings. It may not be done just yet. It could try to bounce a little bit and just continue dropping. If 255 breaks, we're going to likely see this thing hit the 240s, and 240 flat could be a place where we start to see buyers just based off the current technicals. That's worth noting on Tesla. So we're going to be watching this very carefully. On top of that, for Tesla, or not just Tesla, but also like SPY, we're going to be watching these imbalances down here. There's an imbalance down here around this like 450 area. That's going to be an important test, and potentially 448. There's also a gap down at 446 that could be tested. So we're going to be watching these levels. And last but not least, on the QQQ, there's 373, the gap I've been calling out for quite a while. So we're going to be paying attention to all of these things. I know it's not what a lot of people want, but a correction is completely normal, and this will affect NIO for some potential downside going into the week. But it's not the end of the world. Don't worry too much, because going into next week, I am anticipating, not next week, I'm sorry, into August. When August comes, then things are going to improve big time, in my opinion, for NIO. I'm very confident that NIO is going to do well, and I'm very, very excited for what the future holds. All right, so thank you for listening. This is your forecast for what's about to happen for the upcoming week. I hope you guys are prepared, and I'll see you guys in the next one. NIO to the moon, as the long term is still incredibly bright, and peace out.